Alright, so today I would like to explain whether I think a used BMW iX is worth it. Now, some background history on the BMW iX is that it's BMW's first all-electric SUV, and it's their only all-electric SUV. They came out with this car about 3 years ago, and I've actually been in a few iXs personally, and I actually think it's a pretty amazing vehicle, despite some people not liking the exterior design, which I'm not going to say it's the best looking vehicle in the entire world, but I actually really don't mind how it looks. So the reason why I want to talk about whether buying a used BMW iX or not is worth it is because these cars in the past couple of years have just depreciated so much. Like this one right now is a $47,000 BMW iX, and I've seen them as cheap as $43,000 for clean examples of the BMW iX. And that's pretty good because for a brand new BMW iX today, they start at $90,000. Although a lot of people have been able to get some crazy good lease deals on them relative to the MSRP of the car. So right now I'm using Edmunds' website, so it shows nationwide listings. And as you can see, there's a lot of iXs under $50,000, and there's also a lot of listings that aren't even on Edmunds. Like if you obviously do a little bit more research and go on other sites, check inventory of other dealerships and stuff, you'll see other listings. So yeah, it's definitely not hard to get a used BMW iX. That's a clean example for under $50,000. Although it probably will have 40 or 50,000 miles, depending on which one you choose. And obviously it's not going to be super loaded, but that's fine because even the base version of the BMW iX is a great car with decent features. Which next I should talk about trim levels of the iX, because there's two versions of the BMW iX, at least in North America, which is the xDrive 50 and the M60, which let me try and find a M60 actually. Give me a little bit of time, and then I'll explain the differences once I actually find a M60 version of the iX for sale. Although one thing I do want to start with is, if you're going to get a used BMW iX, I actually don't think the M60 is worth the extra money. I would stick to the xDrive 50. Just because, as you're about to see once I actually find a M60 version of the iX, a listing for it, you're going to see that the M60 is just a lot more money than the xDrive 50. And honestly, if given the price difference on the used market, I just don't think the M60 is really worth the extra. Because look, right now I'm scrolling through a bunch of these, and okay, on another note, this is pretty funny because this is a listing for iX, but they're showing pictures of X3, so I'm not trusting that dealership. But anyways, as you can see, I've already scrolled through a bunch of iX listings, and okay, there it is. I finally found an M60, but here's the thing about the M60, and the M60 is obviously the performance version of the BMW iX, which the xDrive 50 already has amazing performance from the start, because obviously it's a BMW, so every iX is going to have amazing ride quality and amazing handling. That's just what BMW does great. They make their cars drive really nicely. But the biggest benefit of the M60 is a quicker 0 to 60, which BMW advertises 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds for the xDrive 50 and 3.6 seconds for the M60. Though the reality is, when you get a BMW, the acceleration times BMW quotes is just not accurate. It's always going to be quicker because that's what BMW does. They like to under-promise and over-deliver, unlike some brands like Tesla specifically. So yeah, that's the thing. So that, which honestly, the M60 right now, you can't find a good one under $65,000, or at least I haven't been able to. Whereas with the xDrive 50, I've been able to find good ones under $45,000. And if you're willing to raise your budget to $50,000, it's pretty easy to get a clean sample of the xDrive 50 iX for under $50,000. Whereas it's pretty difficult to get a clean sample of the M60 iX under $70,000. So, given the price difference on the used market is more than $20,000, I don't think the M60 is worth it on the used market. Although if someone was to be buying an iX brand new, I think the M60 would definitely be worth a look, just because it would retain its value better on the used market compared to the xDrive 50. So yeah, if you're looking for value, I just can't recommend the M60, just because $70,000, in my opinion, for a used BMW EV really is a lot of money. So I would just stick to the xDrive 50 for under $50,000. Because even with the xDrive 50, a used one, depending on the options and stuff, there's really only so much I would want to spend on it. I think a good range for what you should budget to spend on a used iX xDrive 50 is probably $45,000 to $60,000, depending on what you find, the miles, the spec, and everything, and the condition, of course. Whereas with the M60, you're probably going to be looking more in the $70,000 to $85,000 range. So, give or take, the M60s used will be about $25,000 more than the xDrive 50 used. As I explained, for a little bit more performance, I don't think that's worth it, especially because the xDrive 50 already has such incredible performance. It handles amazingly, it's quick, and yeah, it's a really fun SUV, which I've actually been in the xDrive 50. I haven't been in an M60, but my dad and I went to test drive a xDrive 50 iX some time ago, and that was a really fun SUV. It was just amazing. So I honestly think, even if you don't get the M60, even if you stick with the xDrive 50, which is a lot cheaper and actually has more range, I think you're still going to have a ton of fun in the xDrive 50. I know I've already said it a bunch of times, but it's just that amazing of an SUV. So yeah, I'm just going to focus on the xDrive 50 for the duration of this video. And, I think for about $50,000, I think a used iX xDrive 50 with maybe around 35 to 50,000 miles, depending on what you find. In some cases, like this iX only has $25,000, so you could even get them with even less miles, actually. I think for that price of 50 grand, it's an amazing vehicle. Like, even a used M60 for $75,000 is a great vehicle, but I just think the xDrive 50 is already so good that I don't think it's worth paying an extra 50% for the M60. So I think at that point, if you're going to spend $75,000 on a used EV, I'd just look elsewhere, like a Porsche Taycan, for example. I would definitely be looking at Porsche instead of BMW if I had 75 grand to spend on a used EV, but that's just me personally. So anyways, obviously I'm just gonna talk about the xDrive 50 at this point, because that's what most of the used iXs are. Like, if you want an M60, those are pretty hard to come by. Whereas the xDrive 50, the used market is flooded with them. So yeah, that's obviously the trim I recommend for used iX. And I know I've said this probably about 1,000,000 times by now, but for $50,000, I just think a clean version of a clean sample of a used BMW iX xDrive 50 is such an amazing car. And I'm gonna look at this one for example, because first off, let's talk about, obviously, it's a BMW SUV. It's gonna have incredible ride quality and incredible handling. And one thing that I didn't mention about the BMW iX is, if you go inside of a BMW iX, the amount of legroom in there is impressive. I'd say it's probably almost as much as the BMW 7 Series, as someone who has been in these vehicles. And even the interior of the iX and stuff, I would say it's definitely very premium feeling. And I think if you get a BMW iX, you will not be disappointed. They're well built. They feel upscale on the inside. And a fun fact about the BMW iX is, the interior specifically, is that it is made up of 132 pounds of recycled trash. So I think that is very cool that the BMW iX is like that. So yeah, I just really do like this car a lot. But anyways, let's talk more about how the car is and stuff, and the performance, which is, obviously, as I said, the ride and handling is incredible, as all BMW SUVs are that way. It's going to have an incredible interior, and the iX, obviously, as it's electric, is going to have a ton of legroom, especially when compared to other SUVs. Its size, and obviously the iX, and I think it was actually one of the first, if not the first BMW to utilize BMW's new iDrive 8 system, which is the big screen, as you can see right now. So kind of like a Mercedes design. But I believe the iDrive 8 system, BMW iX, was probably one of the first, if not the first BMW to utilize it. But then again, I could be wrong. Please fact check me in the comments section. But I've tried the BMW iDrive 8 system in many new BMWs before, and it is amazing. I really do like that system. So I think even technology-wise, you'll be impressed. And I mean, I can't really say this as much for the M60, but on the the xDrive 50, the range is a solid figure. Like, if you get an xDrive 50 iX, you're getting over 300 miles of range in real world driving. Whereas with the M60, you're not going to quite hit 300 miles, although in its defense, you will get relatively close. But if you buy an iX xDrive 50, you're getting over 300 miles of range, which is amazing, especially considering the performance, the 0 to 60 time, which BMW quotes 4.4 seconds. I'd say a more realistic 0 to 60 time for something like the iX is just 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds, which 4 seconds 0 to 60 in an EV is just mind-blowing. 4 seconds 0 to 60 in an SUV. That's just, in my opinion, mind-blowing. It's extremely quick, and it's honestly a ton of fun. And the best part is, because the iX is electric and has instant torque, meaning when you press the pedal, all the torque is available at the first moment, whereas with the gas car, the torque takes time to build up. So I say, because the iX is electric and has instant torque, it actually feels even faster and quicker than it already is. And even as is, it's a very quick vehicle, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. And that's quick, especially for SUV. But because of the instant torque, with it being electric, it feels even quicker than that. So yeah, I think if you go and test drive one of these BMW iX's, whether it's an X-Drive 50 or an M60, you're gonna have a great time. Trust me. Trust me, it really is it's really an awesome car. So now whether I think it's worth buying or not. So as I explained, obviously on paper and stuff, seems that $50,000 for this car is just an amazing deal and mind-blowing. So should you buy one? Now, first off, there's obviously a reason why these are priced aggressively now, which is, as I explained, a lot of people haven't liked the design much, which I personally could live with it. I don't mind the way the iX looks on the outside, and I love the interior, so I'm fine with that. But a lot of people have disagreed with me, especially when it comes to the exterior of the iX. And also, just electric cars in general are becoming a lot cheaper now. I actually did a video on used Mercedes EQSs about a month ago, so you can check that out too. So EVs are just becoming cheaper in general, so just excuse me, sorry, but it just seems like EVs in general are getting a lot cheaper because especially used one, because people don't seem to be wanting them. So whether I think the BMW iX is worth it or not used, I think it is 100% worth it. I would highly recommend a used BMW iX, especially if you're getting the X-Drive 50, as that one is the one that's a good price. The M60, I think, is still a bit pricey on the used market. But then again, that's also a very expensive vehicle on the new market, so it makes sense. But I think especially if you can score a used BMW iX for under $55,000, I think if you can do that, it's an amazing car for the money. It really is. So, yeah, but I would only get it under two conditions, which is, first off, you obviously have to be okay with the charging of an EV, because I know people say they can charge it at home and stuff, but not everyone has that luxury. And the other thing is, on road trips and stuff, it'll definitely take more time to do a long road trip in an EV than a gas car. But if those aren't problems for you, I would absolutely recommend a used BMW iX. Although, I'm not sure if I would get one now, just because I think, and this doesn't just apply to the iX, but I truthfully think in the next 6 to 9 months, most of these used EVs are gonna have pretty good depreciation. So maybe spring or summer 2025, I truthfully would not be shocked if used BMW iX X-Drive 50s are relatively common for around $40,000 to $45,000 with maybe 40 to 50,000 miles. I would not be shocked if that actually happens in spring or summer of 2025, which then at that point, I think if that happens, and I think it very likely will, just go for it. The deal is too good, and I really think there aren't any major downsides as long as you have a warranty, because obviously a BMW EV in the long run is not going to be the most reliable thing. But if you're under warranty, then I think there's nothing to worry about. Because then you're not paying for the expensive parts if something were to go wrong. The warranty is. So at that point, just go for it for about $40,000 to $45,000 in the future, because I think that's an actual scenario. And by then, interest rates will be a good amount lower than they are right now. So that makes things even better. So yeah, I think this iX is going to become an amazing deal. And if you have to have the car right now, I would still recommend getting a used BMW iX if you have to get it now. But if you can wait another 6 to 9 months, I think it's the better option. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Here are my thoughts, and I do deeply apologize for not uploading last week. I was just a little busy with school getting started and all. But to make it up this week, 2 videos will be coming out. So I'll be making 2 videos this week instead of 1 to make up for last week. This video being the first, and either tomorrow or Sunday, another video will be coming out on a different car. So yeah, I'm gonna go, and I will see you next time.